Hi all, I have an interesting over-the-board game to share with you. Played just last night, hot off the press. I was playing board 1 for Muswell Hill Chess Club against Hackney Chess Club. They were the visiting team at our fantastic pub venue, the Clissold Arms in Muswell Hill, where the Kings, believe it or not, used to play, that music group, the Kings. So fantastic venue, love it. If you want to join Muswell Hill Chess Club, check out our Facebook page. Anyway, so Richard Bates, ECF 230, basically total killer of the chessboard. So let's see. So I was playing actually with the black pieces. So let's flip the board here. Time limit. All moves in, I think, 75 minutes, but with 15-second increments per move. Okay, so let's see what happened. D4. I played the King's Engine. I thought after knight f3, there's a dreaded threat of the London system, and I started reasoning about which opening to play in a bit of a panic. And I suddenly remembered, hold on, I've got a new policy towards the openings. Just picture what my favourite hero would play. So I was thinking, John Nunn, what would he play against knight f3? Would he do some sort of system against the dreaded London system? No, he just played the King's Engine. Okay, the King's Engine is not in vogue at the Super GM level right now, but for club matches, it will do. So G6, we have G3, thankfully not the London system with Bishop F4. Bishop G7, Bishop G2. So fianchetto King's Engine is emerging, especially after now White plays C4. I do know a line here, C6, which is quite interesting, with the idea now to play Bishop F5 to suppress E4 for a moment. And if rook E1, I think knight E4, and I've seen this stuff before, but actually he played knight E1, so a little bit surprising. There's also another way of playing it. I think at the very least knight here, you can go here, tempt this. This position I think is okay for black. Don't quote me on all the theory though. Okay, so Bishop F5, knight E1. I played what seems to be a reasonable move, Queen C8, just trying to swap off the light square bishop. We have E4, Bishop H3, F3, and now C5. And it's interesting, his comments after the game, that I'm giving White a space advantage basically, which is true, but I kind of like the dark square play sometimes in this structure. However, if we're concerned about a space advantage, I think Richard suggested things like A6 and B5 and putting pawns on light squares. I think that's an interesting idea to maintain space rather than conceding space with C5. So something to bear in mind. So C5, D5. It's quite a dangerous pawn. If I ever move the F pawn, then E6 is marked automatically. It's also locking down my pawn structure here, so it's vulnerable to B4s later. So it's more than just the space advantage. This pawn chain can be hit hard as well on the queen side. Anyway, I take on G2 here and play knight BD7. Rook B1, and I thought A6. Yeah, the pawn chain is going to be hit potentially. I thought A6, because A4. Knight E8 to get round to knight C7 potentially, and maybe B5 later. Bishop G5, this is slightly annoying. I was thinking initially Bishop F6 might be okay, for example, this structure, but there's no obligation for White to take it. I mean, he said after the game he might just play this and play on the king's side. It does seem as though Black's not doing much here. If the knight's over here, there's no B5. Maybe he's kind of got a free hand. Maybe he just centralizes the knight, builds up. So I did something more radical. I know pawns don't go backwards. I've just weakened E6. So there might be this sort of maneuver in the future if I'm not careful. On the other hand, I thought, well, the knight can come to C7, guard E6. So I paid this price of weakening E6 here. But now I thought, okay, forcing a move, knight E5, hitting C4. Queen protects. And now F5, and things get a bit scary now. I'm fortunate about the disconnection of the rooks here, because now we have this forcing move. Now, if I go knight g4, I think I can see myself being wiped off the board here on knight g4 after h3 here and e5. I don't like this position one bit. The space advantage is going to be enormous for white, and if white ever gets in, I don't know, it just looks horrendous. So basically, thankfully, I've got this move, which doesn't immediately, it seems, lose a pawn. He took as though this pawn might be hanging, but if you look at this position, he plays knight d3 here. Maybe knight f3 is better, but you can see if he takes, can you see what black has here? If I give you 5 seconds to pause the video, what would you play with black? Okay, bishop takes, yeah, because the rook, I think there's time to take this rook without getting mated. The knight's guarding f6 here, so that should be okay for black. So I think the pawn is poisoned, and knight d3. So he was saying after the game knight f3. Yeah, I think he's right. Knight f3. There's a bit of a tactical liability on d3. So this might be the way to play it, and just be content with suppressing e6. So things actually have gone wrong here. This isn't structurally that sound. So it seems as though, you know, maybe the light square plans that you mentioned earlier would have created that parity in space. So anyway, knight d3. So probably knight f3 is more accurate. Actually, let's have a look at knight f3. From I've got a line here to show you. Rook b8, a5, say b5, takes, h3, queen c8. This kind of stuff is a line. Okay. Anyway, I don't know why I've shown you that. Forget that line. Knight d3. It was just an example. Knight c7. So yeah, because the knight's hanging here, you can't take on e7. b4. But this is interesting now. Guess what I play here in this position? There's something about the position which earlier was a kind of crudity that I'm swapping off the light square bishop for some sort of immature hack attack, because that's Kingscrusher style. How immature, you can't play this against IMs. But there is actually some tangible benefit here of the king being on g2 in relation to pawn structure. So even positional players might appreciate the king on g2 here, because if we look at the pawn structure here, the pawns on light squares, in particular d5 is a little bit more sensitive with the king on g2 in my view, because of the following move. Guess what black plays if I give you 5 seconds starting from now? Okay, b5, yeah, counter-attack, so to try and melt down the centre at d5, which is, because the king's on g2, this is, I think, more effective than the usual, what you might think. So he actually kicks my queen back here, and now knight f2. I was actually concerned in this position. Quandary, do I try and just damage the pawn chain a bit, or do I dare play c takes and a5? This, it occurred to me, if I played this, it occurred to me that white might even consider rook takes b5, which keeps the pawn chain intact. It looks like a... I thought this was an interesting exchange sack possibility, but white's actually not obliged to do that. If he just puts the rook back, maybe away from this diagonal, this position seems quite nice as well for white. What am I actually doing here? Yeah. So anyway, I did go with my instinctive b takes c4 to try and damage the pawn chain. Queen takes, and now bishop d4. Maybe this isn't great. Now the position, I'm obviously threatening, not obviously, well, bishop f2 and queen g4, but he just protects g4. Now here I'm thinking I'm worse. My e6, this is a backward pawn here. There's a potential infiltration with the rook on the 7th rank. This is a potential liability to knight e2. If I start going backwards, maybe there's f5, knight e4. Things could get horrendous in this position. And I come up with a near suicidal looking move, which I wonder if you can guess, which is a rather big cost instinctively, going against a ton of master game classics, the iconic classics, where you have the fianchetto bishop And you don't want to exacerbate the weaknesses, right? Because otherwise brilliancies usually arise. If you look at like the most collected games at chessgames.com, a lot of those are related to exacerbating weaknesses. So yes, guess what I played, which looks totally unintuitive. If I give you 5 seconds starting from now. Okay, bishop takes c3. Yes, I'm giving my treasured protector of the light squares, which is protecting potentially my king. And the reason, I thought maybe it was justified here. After queen takes a4, I've got a pin. I've got the possibility of interrupting the diagonal with knight b5 to d4. That's why I thought maybe it's not as dangerous as it might seem if I've got knight b5 to d4. So bishop a1 with the threat of queen c3 to get onto that battery. That'll be the end of my king. Knight b5. I think that's a reasonable move. Okay, in the circumstances. We have queen e4. Now I think there's a big threat of b takes c, because white wouldn't mind the exchange of queens, especially if he's picking up another pawn here. So guess what I play in this position? And I've got to be worried about e7 now and the queen getting to f6. But black does seem to have a move, which I played. So I'm trying to cling on to dear life here. Black to play. If I give you 5 seconds to pause the video, what would you play with black in this position? So my opponent's only ECF 230. That's pretty large on the ECF scale. International master. I've just given away a treasured dark square bishop. I'm on the verge of getting mated potentially. I play the move c4 because I factor in that queen e7. At least this d6 pawn is protected by the knight, which means I could play c3 to blunt the bishop. But actually he didn't take that. He did take on c4 here. Rook ac8. If you want to have a quick look, c3. I think this is going to be okay. It does look really dangerous with knight e4. Okay. Anyway, queen takes c4. I was happy because I thought I'd get a pin here on the knight. Things are looking up. But queen b3 is kind of actually forcing queens off. So I thought I found another idea. Because I thought if I take the queens, there's that famous expression from a YouTuber, Grandmaster YouTuber, to take is a mistake. And actually it does kind of help quite a bit if the rook's coming here and then to e3. So if I naturally take, rook's coming to e3 next. Yeah, I wasn't sure, like if we look at this position, what does my pin do here? Are we just building up here? Maybe even there's tactics, maybe. Bishop f6 maybe. It's starting to look like a bind anyway, even if there aren't tactics. So I thought, okay, I don't want to help my opponent too much to torture e7, which is the backward pawn. I played queen a3 to try and be more of a nuisance, so that if takes, this, I can play knight c2 to stop rook e3. This might be okay. So anyway, that wasn't tested. Rook e1, just torturing e7 with the other rook. Neglecting f2 a bit, so I was looking at tactical possibilities all the time as well. Didn't quite seem to work. Possibilities of taking rook c2 and knight e5. Couldn't get them working that well. So for a moment I just played the humble defensive move. And then we have rook e3, really forcing the exchange of queens. So takes, rook b takes, rook fc8. And then I get into a panic because it actually shuffles this rook back, preparing to the dreaded battery. I have a bind blackout because I thought this bind, if he has this bind with the two rooks here, I can't move. And he's got that enormous bishop. And I kind of had a blind blackout. I played rook c2 and offered a draw. And then realised, hold on a sec, I just blundered this pawn. Okay, I thought, okay, oh well, that's life. Okay, he doesn't need to accept the draw, clearly. He can just win a pawn and probably the game. So he does actually take this pawn, funny enough. Okay, I'll take stock here again. I'll play king f8. And now actually, he made a mistake. I think he should have played rook b7 or something. He actually played rook b e3. And guess what I played here? To my kind of delight. Kind of shocked as well that I would have this possibility. This seemingly useful possibility. Nevertheless. So black to play here, if I give you 5 seconds, starting from now, what would you play with black? Against a 230 IM opponent, for Hackney really wanting to catch us up in the league, bringing on a mighty strong team with FMs on board 2 and 3. So anyway, what would you play here? Okay, knight c7, yeah, hitting d5. d5 is actually vulnerable. That pawn chain undermining from earlier has actually done something in reality to help my position from earlier. That d5 is slightly vulnerable. He goes now rook 7 e4. Yeah. And I think, okay, do I want to take on d5? Do I want to take on d5? Maybe it's a reasonable move taking on d5. However, I was concerned about this bishop still. So, while it does have various possibilities and keeps that bishop, I was more concerned about this bishop. And I suddenly thought also here that I can set a trap. Yeah, I have to admit, it's a bit trappy. He's not going to fall for it in a million years. You see, I played rook a2. He's not going to fall for this bishop f6 because the knight takes d5, forking rook and bishop. But hang on, there's more to it than that, though. I think. If he goes bishop c3, then knight d5 clearly, and if he goes bishop d4, then knight d5 again. And actually, this position, I'm on f4 as well, and I can double the rooks. So this should be good. You know, it should be ideal. Double the rooks. Well, more ideal than before. He's got tricks here like bishop g7 and rook d5. No, he hasn't. No, f2. Yeah, I mean that's the point of doubling the rooks to tie white down at least. But no, this doesn't happen. I suspected he might try this alternative, which he did. Just pin here, counterpin, and win potentially. I thought, nevertheless, I can weather this storm if I could take this bishop and then take out this pawn at least. So this happened. And I thought, okay, I'm still on the board. I haven't been wiped out. King f3. And now I'll play an interesting move. Black to play here, if I give you 5 seconds. To pause the video. What would you play with black? Okay. g5, yeah, I'll try to get some pressure on the white position in this e5 square. I know it's a 3-2 pawn majority, or a 2-1 if that dissolves. But he played knight d3, which I think might not be accurate, because now black plays rook d4. Yeah, I'm forking knight and pawn. I think maybe he was concerned about these possibilities of like the check, and black would seem to be standing quite well in those positions. So anyway, yeah, giving up a pawn here, but to try and get the king to be mega aggressive. But rook a7 first. I go and protect that, and now king e4. No, not king e4. F takes, knight takes. h4 kicking the knight back, and now g5. I play rook a3 with the threat of knight e5. King e4. And now it looks really quite dangerous if the king can start parking on f6. It looks as though that's going to be difficult to play. I found a move which tries to make things easier for me. I can try and win this pawn immediately, but I don't want to. An onlooking FM Eames thought this was very, very dangerous, nearly winning for white. this position. It looks scary, but we looked at it for a little bit, maybe 98. But anyway, I think, an improvement. Black to play here, if I give you 5 seconds starting from now. Okay, d5, yeah. Just trying to delicately change this version a bit of events. And now the check. And I for the draw here. And he actually only had about a minute and a half, but remember it's like increment of 15 seconds to move. So if it was anyone else, if it wasn't an IM, and if it wasn't an increment, then if it was a blitz game online especially, then who cares about playing on? But I was I just thought, okay, technically I might be a pawn up, but this king is looking like really aggressive. I think intuitively I thought he had very dangerous compensation here, and thankfully I think now he agreed to draw. I think it is equal now after I take care. I mean, his king is aggressive. He did actually agree a draw here. We had agreed a draw here. So move 50. So yeah, it's one of my better, one of my stronger opponents for sure this season. I mean, how strong does it get in this league? The game before was against like the rank 6 in the country, Grandmaster Hawkins, and Richard is around rank 42 in the country, international master. It gets really tough. Please let me know if you're a really strong player in the Muswell Hill area and want to play where the Kings used to be playing their music. Just let me know. We're really looking for really strong players, but we've done well in this North Circular League this season for sure. Anyway, yeah, coming back to this. I mean, if we look at this for a moment, it looks as though, if white gets the knight in, it's going to at least have perpetual checks. I think I was a bit hyped up after thinking, because we ended up losing the match. And I thought, oh, should I have played for a win or something? But I think white's at least got enough of perpetual checks, so there's no point. Look at this. It's the king. You can't be an accountant about these things. It's how difficult the position is to play as well. We're humans. It's going to be difficult to play. The knight's kind of aggressive. The rook and knight it's easy to blunder, I think, this position. For example, if I move the pawn, then there's a check, as a simple example. But with the king coming in as well. So yeah, I think I'm happy to have agreed to draw now. I didn't have a sleepless night offering a draw here because I'm technically a pawn up, but no, it's fine. So, but yeah, I thought structurally, yeah, I deserved, I guess, to be slaughtered. I think with more accurate play from white, knight f3 in particular, so knight d3. So I think this idea of when you commit to a space disadvantage, yeah, is interesting. If that's based on an attraction to a dark square strategy, but you're going to have a severe space disadvantage, maybe you should really think about a light square strategy instead, just to keep the space advantages of the opponent to the minimum. I think that's an interesting thing, which at the time he said it, I thought it was a bit odd to talk about, a6 and b5 or playing for d5, but I think I get it now. Once you commit to a space disadvantage, things can get really tricky. You're more liable to get backward pawns in that structure. You're more liable to get horrible backward pawn fixed with that big advanced pawn on d5. The space advantage, especially the pawn on d5 marking backward pawns, is unpleasant. So anyway, I got away with it just about last night to secure that draw. Okay, I hope you got something from it. Comments, questions, likes, shares appreciated. If you've not already subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing to this Kingscrusher channel. Thanks so much.